Welcome to the Power of Design podcast. My name is Jack Ossa. I'm an architect, born and raised in Colombia, South America. Years ago, I migrated to the United States to follow my dreams. And today, I'm the founder and principal of Ossa Studio, a multidisciplinary architectural design firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. In this podcast, we talk about design, business, creativity, and the inspiration we need to create an exciting and powerful built environment.
In this episode of the Power of Design podcast, we are thrilled to have Greg Lafferty as our guest. Greg shares his extraordinary professional journey, starting in aerospace engineering working at NASA. Seeking more fulfillment, he transitioned into real estate at 26 years old, transforming rundown properties into profitable investments. Over time, he leveraged his technical expertise and analytical mindset to lead a successful construction and development businesses. Greg emphasizes the pivotal role of blending technical knowledge with strong communication skills to drive business growth and build meaningful, lasting relationships.
Hey Greg, welcome to the Power of Design podcast. How are you today?
Doing well, Jack. Hope you are.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you. I know we met through Christina, which
Yes.
I'm very happy she did that. And I don't remember how, but I think Christina just called me out of the blue. And I always, every time somebody is calling or doing approaches like that, I'm like, man, I respect that because I don't do that.
Right.
I'm scared.
Takes a special skill.
Yes, I'm like, okay.
Special
I'll
skill.
listen to you.
Yeah. Christina's a professional friend finder. So
Nice.
she's awesome at that.
Nice. So Greg, I know we talked once, we had lunch, learned a little bit
That was
about each
delicious,
other. And I didn't ask too many things about you because that's what I want to learn about today. I know a little bit that you are, doing some development in construction. I know you've been at NASA, which is very interesting. So I just want to learn more about you and talk about the power of design.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for having me on today. This is awesome. Beautiful office. And I love seeing some of the examples of your design work and everything. It's just, always just puts a smile on my face when the creative juices are flowing in the office.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you need the inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I can
Okay.
see your touch in here. It's beautiful. So my journey is kind of a convoluted one. You're right. I do some development and construction. I have a few businesses that I run, which I really enjoy. Kind of a serial entrepreneur, but I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and going way back to my great grandfather, and so I kind of grew up in a family owned business, which was a lot of fun. And then I broke away and went off to NASA. I really enjoyed airplanes growing up and space and all those kind of things. So I studied aerospace engineering and then went off to GE Aircraft Engines and NASA Kennedy Space Center and did a couple other stops along the way in that engineering journey, and really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. But what I didn't like was sitting still all day. Right.
Yeah.
I didn't like sitting still. In the aerospace world, we feel like we're on the cutting edge, but it's not very fast. Right. So, just sat there and said, man, I've got to do something different, independent. And so I started investing in real estate when I was 26. I was bored. I felt like I was living on Cocoa Beach in Florida, and I felt at 26, I was either going to get in trouble or get productive, right? We're single, you're going to go out to the beach, you get in trouble or do something productive. So I decided to get it productive. And so I started investing in real estate, and I would buy just absolutely horrendous properties and work really hard, fix them up, rent them out. And I continued to do that, kind of that Burr method, right? Before that was even cool. It wasn't even a thing. The internet didn't exist. I was reading books all the time, trying to figure things out. And young people, we just used to buy audio cassette classes. It would come to us in packages, and then you listen to one at a time. now insert tape 3, and so that's how we learned.
I listened to those.
And so, throw them in your cassette player in your car and drive down the road a little bit, so I did that, and that was a lot of fun. And then eventually I migrated across the country a few times, got into sales, really enjoyed that. And, but I still wanted to make real estate. That was my passion. Right. So I wanted to make that kind of my full-time emphasis. And about 5 years ago, I took the opportunity to retire and, left my career pants in a closet and went off. And, I'd started a construction development company 10 years ago and worked both of those full-time basically for 5 years. And, crazy schedules, get up early, be at the office of the construction company, get everybody kind of launched for the day, leave at 9 after working 4 hours, go to my day job, work till about lunchtime, come over here, have a lunch with the team, go back, and then finish up about 8:00 at night. So I did that about 5 years, working 2 full-time jobs, and then finally just retired, for my regular occupation. And then went in and did construction development, real estate investing full time, which has been a wonderful journey to do.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd love to learn more about how do you make that connection or transition between working at NASA, then moving to real estate. Like what kind of skills did you transfer, and how do you leverage what you learned there to apply here? Because I'm sure you're doing that.
I actually had a conversation with a young person. I love to mentor the youth of today, and youth to me is not necessarily young, but it's anybody younger than me, right?
Sure.
And so because I'm kind of getting up there now, but so a young person called me and they were talking about that in an engineering field. How do you make that transition to more of an entrepreneur, whether it's in real estate or not? Like, what does that look like? Because an engineer is very typically trained to be black and white, analytical, right? Whereas an entrepreneur tends to be a little bit more free thinking, right? A little out there.
Yeah.
And so, how do you make that transition? What was that like? And, I kind of get down to, well, the skills are very transferable if you have that extra little creative juice.
Yeah.
So if you're a creative engineer on the design side, right? If you're on the design side, you have that creativity and you can see what something could be like in the future, right? Not just, hey, I'm analyzing this one little part. Let's look to see how it works in a bigger system and that kind of thing. Then the analytical side falls in very well, right? Because accounting and finance, and analysis of pro formas and all those things that you do in real estate, that is very analytical, very numeric, right? Very process oriented. Even in the construction world is basically a manufacturing environment with unlimited number of constraints.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Usually in manufacturing, we think about, okay, the theory of constraints, you usually find a bottleneck, you fix it, it uncovers the next one, you fix it. Well, in the construction world, there's unlimited number of constraints. They appear every day. They come and go. They're never the same.
They change.
Right. They change all the time. But in steel, you have a bill of materials, you have vendors, you have a cost, right? You have job costing. You have some things that are just fundamental, just like a manufacturer, although a manufacturer doesn't necessarily have to deal with it. Rains inside the plant, right? Yeah. So you have those kind of things. So weather and some other things. But I think that was, to me, I just applied all that analytical side of me. And I said, hey, look, I can run numbers on to see what a pro forma would look like, whether a property would do well or not. That's me.
Yeah.
Right. I can do that.
Yeah.
And so in any kind of working in Excel or any of those other tools, to be able to back into a formula to say, hey, here's how I should evaluate a lot if I know that the sales price of a house is this, and here are the inputs that I need to go. So then what's my maximum allowable purchase price for a lot in that region? What do I do? So that's very analytical engineering and reverse formula creation, right? So
what about the human side? Because I work a lot with many engineers, and typically engineers, they're really good at what they do. And usually when it comes to selling, business development, business building relationships, that's usually not their strength.
That's right.
But when you're in business, you have to
be.
You have to relate to people. You need to be those things. So did you have that naturally, or was that something you had to develop?
Some of both. my grandfather and I spent a ton of time in his business, and I used to watch him interact with his customers, watch him interact with his business partners and vendors. And so I developed I kind of copied and mirrored the way he behaved around people, right? How he treated others, and which he was always great with people. I mean, everybody loved him. And so you can kind of pick up those snippets. But I learned very well that the unique engineer is the one that can also communicate.
Yes.
That's not the traditional,
yep.
right? And so then I had to learn. I sat through Brian Tracy's classes and more audio tapes, and then it came out to the CDs, right?
Yeah.
so all the sales training. Brian Tracy just popped into my mind, but Tony Robbins and some of those others, sales and motivation and all those things. My brain is full of all those tracks of hours of listening, so that I could take that analytical engineering side of me and then add in a layer of communication and people, dealing with people. And of course, along my career path, I sold real estate. I was a broker, right? And I sold embedded software, which was very technical sales, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. Selling software that was in like consumer electronic devices or military systems and that kind of stuff. And then I sold manufacturing information systems. So I went to manufacturing and distributors all over the country and sold their accounting and inventory and process systems. So I got to get to leverage both. Right, my engineering side as well as that communication and sales. So it was always humorous to me because I would walk in and they would go, "Oh, that's just the sales guy."
Yeah,
right. That was just the sales guy. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just a dumb sales guy. Yeah, it's okay. I'm just a dumb sales guy." And then we would get into a discussion about process improvement, and I would go, "Well, here's how I would do that." And I would lay out a whole new process, and it'd make everybody in the room go, "Huh." I was no longer the dumb sales guy, so it's okay.
Bring
a little bit of credibility.
It's interesting that, and I don't know why culturally made like the sales guy something negative.
Yeah,
it's actually something really positive.
Really positive.
In any business, the most important part is sales. Mm-hmm. If you don't sell it, there is nothing to buy, sell, execute. Nothing. Selling is the most important part.
It's the leading edge of the overall business, right? And the leading edge is an aeronautical term. It's the front part of the wing, right? Yeah. So we have a leading edge. We should call it NASA the bleeding edge because you're right there on the edge. But it is the leading edge, and really we are the guides. We are the Yodas, okay, or the Obi-Wan Kenobis, if you like some good old Star Wars analogies. But we're the guides for the Luke Skywalkers of the day to walk them through their journey. Mm-hmm. And so, as a salesperson, we have a very important role, not only to our organization but also to the customer, right? Because if we misguide them. Right. I always tell my people, I'm like, irrational behavior on the customer is typically caused by mismatched expectations.
100%.
And that is usually driven by the salesperson or customer service person, right? Those people in communication. And so if as the guide, if as Obi-Wan and Yoda can guide Luke Skywalker through the path, if we are setting the correct expectations and guiding correctly, then really the customer just makes their decision. We guide them to the correct decision. Sometimes that decision is not to buy from us, right?
Yep, 100%.
Because I don't want them to buy from me if my product or service doesn't meet their needs. Otherwise, there's going to be problems. They're not a great customer. Yeah. Right?
For many years before I started my business, working for somebody else, I never had to sell. So there was a point where I thought, well, maybe I'm not good at sales or I don't understand sales. And I had that idea of the car salesman. But then I started my business, I had to sell. That's the only way to make the business work. And now after 7 years, I can say that I love selling. Yeah. I like sales. I want to sell more, and I can't wait to sell. It's exciting, it's helpful, and it's two things. One, I now understand clear in my mind what sales are, and then I have my own style, because every person sells in a different way. And I always say, I can talk about sales for hours, but at the end of the day, you're selling yourself.
Yes. Absolutely.
If the most important sell you can make in your life is when you buy your own self to yourself. and you appreciate and you buy yourself the way you are, 100%, and accept it and love it, then you can communicate and transfer to others that state of mind.
This is who I am.
Yeah, this is what I have,
Yes.
and this is what I can help you with.
Yes.
And I think when sales become an explanation of what I have, I know is gonna benefit you or your business. Let me show you how. I'm not convincing you to buy from me. I just desperately need to help you understand how can I help you. Because if you understand that might be a good match.
Right.
And sometimes people don't see that. And that is also a filter that, maybe I shouldn't be selling to this person because what I have is not really meeting their needs.
That's correct. And they don't see the value. And if they can't see the value, it's either they're blind or I'm not communicating effectively. Right. So, and if I feel like I've done my best at communicating that value.
Yes.
And they still don't see the value, then they need to go find value somewhere else. And
yeah.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine. I do not have a scarcity mindset. I have a very plentiful mindset. So I feel like there's, I don't know what the exact number is today, 350 million Americans. Someone is going to buy my house.
Yes.
Right. So if I pay attention to the trends in the market and I'm building a great product of a great quality and I'm bringing that into the market, then someone is going to appreciate that.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
years ago, I was listening to a podcast and they gave up a definition of sales. So they said selling is getting someone intellectually engaged in a future result that is good for them and getting them to emotionally commit to take action to achieve that result.
Yes.
And I think the magic in that statement was, it's not all about understanding logic, plus or minus, pros and cons. Yeah, that's one part. But the emotional
attachment.
When you make a buying decision, it's an emotional decision. So you need to be emotionally invested. That's why when we buy something, let's say it's expensive, we're like, oh no, I love it. I love it. And then, that's why I pay so much. Because when you love it, you love it.
Yep.
That's it. But the buying decision is usually emotional.
Very much
so. In the selling process, there is a part of logic. Yeah, this makes sense financially, but also how do you engage the person emotionally. Because they're gonna, use that object. Just looking at the luxury market or any item, you could talk about a shirt that could be $10, $1,000, $10,000. They all do the same. But how do I feel when I'm wearing the expensive one?
That's correct.
Right? That's what people pay for.
That's right.
They feel you know what? I work hard to buy this, $6,000 handbag. And I feel successful. So I'm paying to feel like that. It's not the product. The product does the same thing.
It still carries my stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Still carries my stuff. But when I put my hand on that handle, it just feels different because of the status of the product or that emotional attachment of always wanting something like that.
Yeah.
Right. And one of my sales partners that I used to have, we used to love when clients would start with buying language, right? When they start projecting themselves as the owner of the product. When we do this, when we move, it's almost like when a buyer walks into a house and they start measuring for their furniture.
Yes.
Right. They're picturing their children playing in the backyard. They're like, oh, we could put a swing set over there. And I think our couch would fit right here. Do you think our couch would fit right here? Right. And they're making these buying gestures and buying language, buying signals. And, so we used to just kind of look at each other and go, here it comes.
Got it. Yeah.
Here it comes.
They're
right?
coming.
They're visualizing themselves, and, or when we sold software it was, when they started negotiating.
Yeah.
Right. Because nobody really cares about the price in a business world until you know that the product is going to fit for the need of the business.
Yeah.
Right. So when they sat there and said, well, can we not solve this problem for $50,000 less than what you're proposing? Right? Now you're like, now we're negotiating.
Yes.
That's a buying signal.
Yes.
They wouldn't even ask about the price or try to even waste their time on negotiating if the product wouldn't fit their needs.
Right.
Right. So now they're placing, or they would say, now when we go to implement this system, ownership.
Yeah.
Right. When we go to implement this system, how long does that normally take? right?
Yes.
That ownership thing.
Well, they're moving through the process,
In their mind.
People do business with people they know, like, and trust.
That's correct.
That when you hear those things, the process is happening.
We are moving. We are becoming
It's
Yoda,
moving.
and we're guiding
Yes.
them through the process.
Yes.
Right.
In another podcast one time, I was listening to, it was a conversation about sales. So they were explaining how in a buyer-seller situation, the leverage is always on the buyer because they're deciding whether to buy or not.
Right.
The seller is just waiting if you want to buy. So every time you're in a leverage position, you feel more empowered, right? When you're in a disadvantage, you're kind of, you don't know, you're nervous. So they talk about a concept where they said just flip, even when you are the seller, you can flip the roles. Because when you look at the exchange, because at the end of the day, this is just an exchange. So say, for example, for my case, I sell professional services and I can design a building for, let's say, $20,000, right? So when I have the ability to make that sale, I'm buying $20,000. And I'm buying $20,000 with work, professional hours, research, talking to this person.
Right.
Those, depending on the client, these $20,000 could be very expensive or very cheap.
And do I want that $20,000 or not? Yes.
So
is that
when
valuable to
when
me?
I'm looking at prospects or any exchange in life, for that matter, if I try to see, is this an experience I'm going to go through, right? Is this a person I want to interact with more for all this period of time because he's having it? Which is hard sometimes to evaluate in one or two meetings, but that's always something I keep in mind. It's like, no, I'm the buyer.
Right.
I'm buying this money.
I'm buying this money.
I'm buying this money, and I'm realizing after different transactions, you learn to be a better buyer of the money.
And that's very important because, if our goal is to win a customer for life, right? If our goal is to create relationships for long term, right? Not just Walmart level transactions. I'm going to walk in, walk out, pay the money, take my stuff, right? If as business people want to create long-term relationships, then why should we not have the choice of who we have these relationships with, right? So, and I think we should. I think that it's almost as important for a business person or a salesperson to be empowered to fire a customer as it is to hire one.
Yep.
Right? Because we have a little acronym that I ran across years ago. It's called a PETA, pain in the backside. Let's just kind of rephrase it like that, keep it G-rated a little bit.
Yep.
But is this customer going to be a pain in the backside, right? Or are they going to be a partner, right? Like let's think of it like that. Are they a great partner or a bad partner? And so because in our line of work, we would like some repeat business. We would like to be able to buy and sell land from each other and sell some homes to more homes than one person, kind of thing. And then we have investors that we work with that we would like to conduct more transactions than just a one and done. So, if you're going to continue to deal with these individuals or these other businesses for years to come, you need to select not only your vendors very carefully, but also your customers. And I'm a big fan of the book called The Pumpkin Plan. I don't know if you've ever read that or not.
No,
but
I haven't.
It's a neat little concept, and I'll paraphrase, but basically you want to limit your customer base and limit your product set so that you're very, 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 very focused, right? And so the concept is that these farmers that grow these monster blue ribbon pumpkins, 1,200 pounds, right? These huge pumpkins. They start with a very, very good seed. It's $800, give or take, right? They pick the best soil to put it in. And when it sprouts, they clear the vine off except for one pumpkin so that the vine can just focus its energy on the one pumpkin. And then they keep the soil weeded around it so that the soil is not being depleted of nutrients, but anything to that pumpkin. And so the analogy is like, okay, all the other pumpkins on the vine are kind of like miscellaneous customers that always come to you with these opportunities that are just distractions or products that are just distractions. And so you want to focus all your energy on your pumpkin.
Yes.
Right. So your product, your service, your customer base, right? And you want to start with the best business plan. That's the seed, right? Put it in the best soil, which is kind of like your market. right?
Yeah.
And your team putting nutrients into the pumpkin, and then really focusing your energy. So a lot of times in business, we get distracted by these other customers that are not very helpful, not great partners, or we get distracted by opportunities.
Yeah, that doesn't
really
happen to me at all.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. Hey, why don't you come design something in in Georgia? And you're like, that's a little out of my realm, you know. So, and 15 trips to Atlanta and sitting in traffic there, you're kind of like, why did I do this? Right. So so we have to, and I get that all the time because, as a builder and developer, there's land everywhere. So I get people, well, why wouldn't you not build in Raleigh? I'm like, well, I think Raleigh's a great market, but it's 2 hours away.
Yeah.
So that's not my pumpkin.
That's right.
My pumpkin is here.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
when we talk about that a lot in our investing models too, when we teach, because now we have an organization that helps educate investors and help them strategize on how to grow their portfolios and how to really invest in real estate for the long term. And so through our organization called Branch Wealth Partners. And so, what is their pumpkin, right? Are they a single family investor or multifamily? What do they like? What's their class? What are they comfortable with?
That's nice.
If they're a multifamily investor and here comes a storage unit property, a mini storage warehouse, is that a distraction or is that a next phase in their growth? What is it?
Yeah.
Right. Is it in their skill set? Could they partner with somebody to help them with that? Is it really a distraction or is it where they want to go in the future?
Yeah.
And so it's hard to kind of peel that off because they get inundated all the time with inputs. Like, here's something you should invest. I just got one right before this thing started. I got a text from a broker. Hey, here's an off-market property. It's a great deal. And I look at him like, no, it's not. It's no, it's not.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. But thanks for thinking about me.
Yes.
But and I spent about 2 minutes thinking about it.
Yeah.
I thought, is it a 10-unit building? No, it's 4. Okay, it's way overpriced. So, but thanks.
Yes.
So, but anyway, so that's side card here.
Yeah. No. I think that's a good segue because I'd love to know about your business today.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Who are your clients? How do you guys add value? Just tell me everything that you're doing.
So, we're part of the New Life family of companies, and I selfishly, put my little coffee. That really wasn't a big play. It was just the cup that I grabbed as I got out, but I probably should make sure it's in frame. But anyway, sorry. And so, as you drink your wine, I'm more of a coffee guy, and but I've heard that is absolutely delicious.
Oh yeah.
So,
what do you think?
That's great.
Yeah.
Told you.
Christina was like, I don't think I want any wine, but maybe I do.
Yeah.
And now she's like,
no headaches tomorrow.
That's
If you drink the whole bottle. Yeah.
Yeah. And in like 2 minutes, she's already down to about the bottom of the glass. So I think it's pretty good.
It was like 3/4 up.
Yeah.
Look at that. We have more.
So don't worry. We can open up another one if you want. And so we're part of the New Life family of companies, and New Life in such we run several businesses and generally working around real estate or real estate services and because that's my passion, right? And so we have an organization called McAllister Creek Development, and that organization is a new partnership that we just formed that we've merged with another company, and that's a very exciting announcement to kind of join those capabilities. So we can we've always kind of focused on more like starter homes, 1,400 square feet, get what you get, don't pitch a fit, kind of right. And I'm real big on Henry Ford and let's go into production. And we build everything to speculations. So the house is almost completely finished before we put it on the market. And so, but with this new capability, we're coming a little bit more up market and building a little bit larger homes. So those will be kind of in that 2,000 square feet type area and a little bit nicer, a little more with options, those kind of things. So we're really excited about that merger that we're releasing right now. We just announced that about a week or so ago. But New Life is 10 years old. Just at the end of September, just crossed our 10th year anniversary. So that's fun. And then we have another organization called Plumber Today. So we do residential new construction and service, and then commercial service for plumbing all over the Charlotte region. So we really enjoy that. Ties it very well into our new construction because we do our own plumbing, and that's perfect. The concept of, hey, I don't know when the plumbers are scheduled to come to show up to build our house doesn't exist for us.
Yes.
So it's awesome. So when our project managers in McAllister now say, hey, when's the plumber starting? I'm like, when do you need them there? Because that's what
right.
we're doing.
The plumber is going to be on time always.
Yeah, that's right. We're doing that. And then on Branch Wealth Partners, we help educate and educate, guide, consult, help investors strategize about how to develop lifelong and generational wealth through investing in real estate. And then we help them manage those assets. So I would like to say that we're a property manager just for the colloquialism of that everybody knows we're a property manager, but I don't consider it as just a property manager. I consider us an asset manager.
Oh, yeah.
And so not only do we handle the tenants and toilets and termites and all those kind of things, but we also look at the financials of the property, and we also do the analysis, and we also think strategically with the investor about how we can improve their financial picture. And so it's a different layer, right? So taking those NASA analytics and taking all that and applying that value back to the investor more so than just saying, hey, we need to evict this tenant, or, hey, there's a toilet broken. No, right? We're going to take care of that, but there's a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Right?
So who's a typical customer of Branch Wealth Investment?
So we like to handle the entire continuum. So we have mentees, clients and mentees that go ahead, Christina, just go ahead and finish it off. I won't tell anybody. I'm not telling anybody right now. And but you'll edit this out.
Finish
But we have beginning mentees, which are fantastic.
Yeah.
And they're just learning how to spell real estate, right? And we actually have a curriculum that we send them through, which is a lot of fun. So we have another cohort starting in January. It's a 12-week curriculum. We go through from beginning to end. Here's how you.
So is that just a regular person or companies?
No, individuals.
Individuals.
And at that level, and then we handle the continuum all the way to the retiring investor, right? So they've worked 30 years. They've managed their own portfolio. Now they're like, hey, Greg, I need to figure out what to do here, right? And so how do I either exit the portfolio, or how do I step away from the day-to-day management?
Or how do I start?
That's correct. Either end of the continuum. How do I get started? How do I retire? And then in the middle is this fascinating group in there that's at this inflection point, right? Where they've grown their own portfolio to a certain point, and now they're sitting there going, I'm not really at my goal, but I'm beyond my either knowledge and education in the business, or I'm beyond my ability to perform. So I'm out of time.
Yeah.
Right. And so how do we take them? It's almost like in your business growth, right? Where you kind of, you have the startup growth, and then it kind of hovers in this doldrum kind of area, and you either push through and explode, or you die.
Yeah.
Right. So, so they kind of get to that inflection point in their investing too. And they're like, hey, I really don't have time to grow anymore, but I know I need to. Yeah. And so we can help them and say, okay, not a problem. Let's first strategize how we're going to grow, and then let's put some resources into that. Yeah. And let's help them.
The Power of Design podcast is brought to you by Ossa Studio, a multidisciplinary design firm focused on creating impactful experiences through the power of design. We partner with our clients to create buildings, interior spaces, brands, and strategies that help you deliver a successful project. As a minority-owned firm, we are committed to building a diverse platform of curious and driven design professionals so we can together pursue our full potential. For more information, please visit us at www.ossastudio.com.
What would you say it's, let's say for a first-time person, entry level, if they want to get into investment and learn, how much do they need to have minimum. Like, okay, if you want to do something, at least you need to start with this.
Yeah, 1 billion. No, I'm just kidding. 1 billion. No, you know what's funny is, and this is where I start to diverge from a lot of YouTube gurus and all that kind of stuff. So I started out with no money down investing, right? Back when I was 26 years old, interest rates were double digit, right? So don't talk to me about high interest rates. I've been there. I know it's okay. You can do it too. It's fine. Bought condos on a credit card, did all those kind of things, right? And it was a disaster, absolute disaster. So that went bankrupt. It was nasty, right? And so I sit there and go, really, let's do this. Let's plan this out and let's think a little bit more strategically. And let's think about what the fundamentals are like. And so a lot of gurus are like, hey, man, everybody should invest in real estate. Everybody should invest in real estate. And everybody can do it. And everybody should go no money down and max out their credit cards and take out all their home equity and all those kind of things. Whereas I'm a lot more conservative in that because I think for the longer picture, right? And one of my business partners is a Dave Ramsey coach. So I love a lot of his philosophies there. Let's get let's get an emergency savings plan. Let's get your credit cards taken care of. Let's have 6 to 8 months of savings in case you lose your job, whatever. Yeah. Then let's start investing. So, and what does that look like? Does it start with a 401k and IRA and those kind of paper assets? Maybe it's not my thing. I don't really like those, but at least if all you have to extra is $50 a month in your budget, then hey, that's where you kind of need to be, right? To answer your question directly with that context is I tend to like to be able to put 20% down on a property. Yeah. Right. I like for my mentees to have a budget in place. I like for them to have their emergency savings in place. I like for them to have their credit cards kind of taken care of. They need to be solid in their home. Right. Let's get solid. Let's get the fundamentals right. Yes. And then once we have those fundamentals right, now we can invest. And when you go into the field of investing, right, because you've gotten these other things taken care of, then you need to look at all things on the field, right? Because we're always taught since we're small that you should go to school, get a job, put $50 a month in your IRA or 401k. Hopefully they'll match it. Maybe they'll give you a pension. Probably not nowadays, right? Yep. And then you work 30 years for the same employer and then you retire and the next day you die because you have no purpose in life. Yeah. I mean, that's what kind of. But you have a gold watch. Right. Jim watch. That's correct. That's correct. And so, yes, thank you. And so that's what we're instructed. And so I think we should have a broader view and we should look at real estate as the value that it brings to our retirement structure. Right. And unfortunately, there are not a ton of brokers that are pitching that value because they're very transactional. Right. They're like, hey, let's get you in your first home. And when you finish with that, we'll upgrade you into a new home. But I'm sitting there going, hey, look, we need to look at real estate as an investment. They always say that the primary investment that anybody makes is their home. Well, maybe we should take a step back on that and go, well, if that's the largest investment you've ever made, then maybe you should buy 2. How about 3? Right? Maybe you should get a tenant to pay for it. Ooh, that's a neat theory.
Yeah, I know. There are a lot of people talking about, like buying a home is the worst investment and they just put the money to work. And that's one of those culturally general ideas that they're transferred from generation to generation that at some point they don't apply anymore, but we keep doing it just because that's what we learn and that's what everybody's doing. And everybody said this, but things change, especially with technology.
Right. And how are we going to do that in the future? And how do we then learn? I had one of my mentees make a great statement because I've had people say, hey, I'm too old to get started investing in real estate. And one of my mentees that is actually about 60, he said, yeah, but my ceiling could be my kid's floor.
That's a good one.
Right. And so, that's that generational mindset to go, hey, look, what I start might, and what I finish with might be what they start with. And that's kind of how I see it too. Yeah. So it's a generation, pass it down generation to generation to generation and teach our young people that, hey, look, there's more than just a 401k on the field, right? You can do a 401k, that's fine, but you could also do real estate. You could also be a private money lender. You could also invest in a real estate investment trust, right? You can do joint ventures and syndications and other things like that. Why would you not? Those are all out there, and the more you learn, the more opportunities you have.
Yeah. What kind of like behaviors you have to keep yourself informed, up to speed, doing what you need to do, playing the game? How do you implement those things in your own life?
Well, I would say I'm an avid reader, but ever since I got plugged into Audible, I wouldn't say it's reading.
Yes.
But I am an avid listener, and some of my friends go, hey, what do you read for fun? I'm like, investing books,
Yes.
marketing books, sales books. That's my fun.
Yeah.
Right. And I've even had friends look at me and really strangely, and they go, Craig, I just don't see you ever having fun. Like, why don't you go have fun? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like when you go to the beach and it's raining at the beach, what do y'all do? You probably break out Monopoly and you play Monopoly or some kind of board game. And I tell my friends, I'm like, I play Monopoly every day for real. Like real money, real houses, real tenants. And you do it for fun on the weekend.
Yeah.
I do it I get to do it. I get to do it every day.
Right.
7 days a week. And I love it. Absolutely love it. I've been doing it for 28 years. So, if somebody and other people go, Greg, what do you do at the office? I'm like, well, I test the coffee. And they look at me kind of funny. And I'm like, no, do you realize that if you have bad coffee, none of your people really want to come to work?
Oh, yeah.
So, come on, let's lighten up a little bit, but to your point is I'm an avid studier. And I do listen to the gurus out there because they might have a good nugget out there.
Oh, sure.
Like I don't discount it. I don't discount it at all. They might have a good nugget, and I'm always open to learning. I'm an avid learner.
Yeah.
And so, and even in our curriculum, we bring in, for our more seasoned investors, we have monthly meetings, and then we bring in guest speakers. And so like this month is a gentleman that's a friend of mine that does large industrial complexes. And, look, I'm sure I'm going to pick up a nugget.
Oh, yeah.
Right? A few months ago, there was a gentleman that's a friend of mine, does multifamily syndications, right?
Nice.
And so I want to take my more seasoned investors, or the investors who are at that inflection point, and now go, hey man, let's blow up your brain a little bit. Like, let's expose you to big picture type stuff, big ideas.
Yeah.
And don't think small. Like if you're going to increase your portfolio, let's not go buy a house. Okay. Let's go buy an apartment complex, or let's go buy some raw land to build an industrial building. Like, let's think a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And then let's put you in front of the right people who have that skill set so that they can mentor you, right? And you can ask questions. And so I love that because every time I bring in a guest speaker, I'm like, oh, wow. Had no idea.
Yes.
I've been doing this 28 years and I'm brand new, right?
I'm very similar because I love learning. And sometimes I say that I'm addicted to learning because I can listen to 25 podcasts, read all these books. But one of the things that happened to me, I will say maybe in the last 5 years as I get older, because I just consume a lot of information. I love it. It's new information. And I don't know why, but I felt that I hit to the point like I felt information overload.
Oh, right.
And I was like, man, because you realize there's a lot of repetition. You're like, oh, okay, they're all saying the same thing, just different things, because it's all the way back to the fundamentals.
It's fundamentals.
Fundamentals are just
blocking
simple.
and tackling, as we would say in football.
And I
right?
get to the point where I started to maybe not consuming that much information because of the repetition, and maybe shifting to starting, because you're always looking for the information outside of your brain. What I don't have, let me bring it in. But when you start going and finding new information within yourself, so now you have experience, you have some things to give, you have things to say, and it's your own original ideas. And I felt that that's another, bottomless pit that you can explore, which is within your own self when you have experience.
Yep.
Because that's one of the things that I realized as I get older. Experience is worth anything.
Right.
You cannot replace it. You cannot pay for it. And if you get the luxury to get older and enjoy that experience, it's really good.
Yeah.
The other thing is the idea of when you're always looking for information outside, you're always like looking up to others, right? Like, oh wow, you're at a level that I'm not there yet, so let me learn. But there is a point where you realize that your own life experiences, you're the one driving it, right? You're the one at the level, and recognizing that, yeah, you are like that.
Right.
You are a mentor to all these people.
That's
Like the
correct.
people you're looking up to, some people is looking up to
Up
you.
to you.
And then it becomes more, it kind of changes the game, at least for me, where I start trusting myself a little bit more, because you have proved yourself throughout time that you're generating results you were looking to do.
But I think that's interesting too, because you mentioned kind of in a backhanded way about being a mentor. And that's one thing that I really value. You know, at my age, I'm looking back going, okay, you know, maybe this is my time to give back a little. And I even find that I cross great ideas in conversations with my mentees, because they might have heard an idea from someone else that I had not heard yet, right? Or they might be excited about a particular property class or something that I really haven't explored. And then they'll tell you all about it. And you're like, well, that's kind of interesting. You know, maybe I should look into that a little bit, or a concept that they'll bring to my attention. And you know, each person has a little bit of creative genius in them somewhere, right? Of something. They have value that God placed into them, a certain gift, right? And so when you're looking down into your mentee pool, right, then you see all these gifts down there and all that other talent, and you're like, wow, that's really neat.
Oh yeah.
And so new ideas will pop out of there too. And but I really feel, you know, I had my own mentors, as you probably did as well.
Yeah.
And that spoke into my life, and I still do. It's just I'm older now, so the mentors that I had that were older are now passing away, right? And that's kind of sad. But what I do find is that there are other mentors that might be my same age, but took a different career path. So their 30 years of experience is different than mine. So although we're of the same age or similar age, they have a different skill set and a different experience, and can be a mentor as well. So, which is kind of funny, because normally we think about mentors and mentees being an age step, right? But really it's an experience step. And so if someone younger than me has 20 years of performing a certain task, I probably ought to listen, right? They might only be 45, right? So they might be younger than me, but at the same time, but they've been doing that job ever since they got out of college at 24, right?
Oh yeah.
So they have great experience. So they could be a mentor to me.
100%. You know, I experienced that with my children. I have 3 kids. Jacob is 15 and a half. Juliana's 12. John is 8. And sometimes, and I've seen them doing and saying things that I'm like, wow, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
I'm learning from them.
Right.
You know, like basic human emotion, communication, sensitivity, things that are like, oh my gosh, yeah, I should be more like that.
Right.
Especially with like little kids that they have not been like ingrained with schools and fears and all these things. There's just like free.
Let me jump off the couch.
Yes.
Free.
And I'm like, man,
put a blanket down there. I'll land on it flat belly, right?
Yes.
You know, it'll be fine.
That is so exciting. And even sometimes I try to use that relationship with my kids where I can easily apologize to my kids because maybe I was too harsh or something that I shouldn't have done it, you know. And I try to be mindful of showing my kids like, dude, I'm human. I also make mistakes all the time. And I want to apologize and let you know that the way I spoke to you, I should not have done that. I should have handled it a different way. And these are the reasons. And this is why I did it. But it takes having that like kind of mentor or teacher perspective. Is not somebody older or up there. It could be anyone. Right. At any point.
Even my sons are slightly older than your children. So my sons are 20 and 22 at this point. And they have skills that I will never have. Right. And now their skills still need to be refined. There's certain things that I sit there and go, hey, maybe we should kind of clean that up a little bit, but we become peers at certain levels and then mentor mentees that flip back and forth.
Oh, nice. Yes.
And so like a great example, my youngest son, when he was young, he wanted to be a bass fisherman, right? So he bought his own bass boat, little piece of junk boat. It wasn't anything fancy, right? Very, very used, barely running, right? But he bought that before he could drive. And so when he got his driver's permit, I would let him drive the truck pulling the trailer to the lake because I knew as soon as he turned 16, he was going to want to drive his own boat to the lake without dad.
Yeah.
Right. And so I wanted to make sure he could handle the trailer and the boat and do all those things. And so we spent that time while he was in his driving permit. Well, we just went to the mountains this past weekend. I took a good crew, about 12 people from my company, and went up there to perform some service work for those affected in the hurricane. And that joker drove a 40-foot gooseneck trailer loaded down with my skid steer and all kinds of equipment and everything. Wow. And he could put that trailer exactly where he wanted it. We were going through narrow streets with debris on either side and police cars and certain emergency vehicles going all around, and he could just back that bad boy right into where he wanted.
That's awesome.
And at 20 years old, there were 50, 60-year-old men watching him with their jaw dropped. And he would just say, not a problem. I got this, Dad. Right?
That's awesome.
And so I'm like, look, man.
Yeah, the seed you planted.
Yeah,
it's
seed
right
I planted. And it's a skill that he can back it way better than I've ever been able to. He could just visualize it and just almost steer it with one finger. Yeah. Right. And just a lot of fun.
Nice.
Just a lot of fun. And,
nice.
And to that end too, my oldest son, they both have a real good servant's heart. And they were like, hey, look, we want to go and we want to help out. So they kind of planned most of it, gathered everything up. And my oldest son was like, all right, Dad, I got this, this, and this all lined up. Don't worry, I'm going to operate the equipment. We're going to go take care of these things. Right? 22
That's
years
awesome.
Old.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff. Your children will get there.
Hopefully.
Yeah, they will. And they'll get to the point where, Dad gets a little smarter as they get older.
Yes.
So it's okay.
Right now I'm the lowest.
That's right. You're low. You're pretty stupid right now.
I have no idea about anything.
No, you're very, very intelligent when they're 5 to 10 years old. And then when they cross 13, you get really dumb. And then when they cross about 20, you get smart again.
I've seen that because I remember when they were little, they look at the podcast and like, oh my God, you're in YouTube.
Yeah, look at you do.
You have a podcast?
Yeah.
Now they're like, bleh.
Yeah. Or they'll critique you.
Like everybody has a podcast.
Like, Dad, why did you even say that on the podcast? Yes. I don't know why you did that. That was dumb. Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm trying
My sons are probably watching this like, why did you wear that, Dad? I'm not sure. Christina got it out for me. I don't know. And so that's that's kind of, who we are at Branch. I'm sorry we kind of circulated around that all, but who we are and what we do. But our passion is around real estate. Our passion is around education. And then we have this other organization, which is kind of fun too. It's called Convenient. It's a waste receptacle cleaning business. So it's a little bit out here, but it still provides services around real estate. So we clean rollout garbage cans and we clean commercial dumpsters. So we find that a lot of our customers are Airbnb hosts.
Yeah.
Right. They need to kind of make sure that the garbage cans are fresh and clean for the next guest. And then restaurants and those kind of folks that have nasty garbage cans or dumpsters, and we'll come in there and kind of clean them all up with some nice hot pressure water. And that's a lot of fun too.
Oh yeah.
It's neat.
Nice.
So we service that. We have one organization in Charleston and handles the Charleston market. And then we have an organization here in Charlotte. So yeah, that just kind of fuels that entrepreneurial bent.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about the future, like the next 5-10 years.
Well, I was told I could not start another business in 2024. So so I'm not started one, but I'm merging one and I acquired one. So
perfect.
So that's pretty good. I consider that I kind of sat underneath the line there.
Yeah, 2026.
You can right up to the line. I didn't cross it. So So
Who told you that?
that was one of my business partners. She was like, "You cannot start another business." I'm like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to start another one." And so here we are, and in the fourth quarter, I've not started another business. So up to this point, I'm keeping my word.
So far, so good.
Now I think that where we are in the future, we're really excited about McAllister Creek and in the growth plans we have in the new construction side. I feel like that as interest rates tend to dip, and that the product will be better absorbed in the marketplace, which is awesome. But somebody has to bring the supply to market, and we're having a real huge demand, but we have a short supply, and so the supply is coming from builders. So we're going to continue to build, and I'm pretty excited about that. And really, as that organization grows, to continue to push on the plumbing business. I'm excited about home services. That's one of those businesses you cannot ship from China, right? So it's local service, local people, and I love serving the community. In fact, our mantra at New Life is improving lives and communities one house at a time. And so if we can make an impact, that's what we're all about. I'm part of a business forum called C12, which is a Christian business leaders forum. And we treat business as a ministry. So we like to take care of our people, our customers, our vendors, our communities, and serve them well in everything we do. And so we're excited about that. And then really with Branch, to be able to continue to educate and to pass along the knowledge that I've gained over the last 28 years and to grow that, expand it with some consulting and strategic planning and partnering with wealth advisors and others to kind of sit there and go, hey, look, if a client comes to you and they have a strong real estate portfolio and they also have paper assets, how are you going to manage that? Right? How are we going to advise them? How can we sit across the table from one another and help them meet their goals and their needs, right? And so we're really excited about offering those kind of services. So I think it'll be fun. And then with the Convenient World, I'm sure we're going to be acquiring other organizations across the country and continuing to grow that. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're already cleaning thousands of rollout cans all over the place, and so that'll be neat to watch. And, always a struggle. But and walking around and seeing some of the examples of your work and the design and everything, I'm like, well, let's see. I'm trying to acquire a new office building because we're growing and we're sitting on top of each other. So I'm like, either we're going to acquire that building or I'm going to build one. And I'm like, I'd really like it to look like that. So I'm starting to kind of covet a little bit on some of this. I got to be careful.
The selling process started.
Yeah, it's already started. I'm emotionally bought. And unfortunately, you're only going to drink your wife's wine. Otherwise, we'd start to figure out how to trade. So at some point, I'm emotionally bought into to making a nice space for our teammates, because it's so important to have a great working environment for them to come to be their best and to bring their best efforts and their best selves. Yeah. Right. They each have a gift. And so can we create spaces and create a nurturing environment, either physical or emotional, right, where they can bring their best. And I think that's kind of where you are too, right? Yeah. And so that's my mission. When somebody really does ask me what I do for work, when I get serious and stop talking about testing the coffee, which I think is kind of funny, right? Because I'm not even a coffee snob. I could go to 7-Eleven and be very happy, right? But which is kind of funny. But what I really do is my mission is to empower my teammates with the right tools and the right processes and the right environment to bring their very, very best. Right. And so I need to be available to them both physically and emotionally and mentally to help them overcome their challenges so they can bring their best. And when they bring their best, we all are better. Right. Yeah. Because an organization is limited by the leader, but it's also limited by the capabilities of the people. That's right. And the constraints of the systems you put them in. So if I can eliminate constraints and let them run, I want them to be their best. Otherwise, I wouldn't have them in that role. Yeah. Right. If I wanted to hamstring them and limit them in their process, I wouldn't have hired them. Yeah. Right. 100%. So as a leader, that's my vision.
Awesome. So my last question for you is
one more.
Do you have a question for me?
Oh my goodness.
Just one.
Goodness. I think it's interesting. Your vision for your own business and your story is so fascinating. And how did you really get into understanding that you had a gift with this artistic side of yourself, right? But architecture is this kind of funny hybrid between it's almost like an extreme case of artistic engineering, right?
Yeah.
So, in the design world, you have the design engineers, so the guys who come up with the concept of a new car or come up with the concept of a new aircraft. And so you're in that same realm.
Yes.
But your product set is real estate. So how did you understand that you're like, hey, look, I am so artistic and so creative, but also very analytical? Because it can't just be artistic.
Yeah.
It has to be structurally sound. It has to be functional. It has to meet the building codes, all those kind of things. So how did you uncover that in your life?
So have you seen that diagram of Leonardo da Vinci where there is the man and, the proportions?
Yeah.
So all humans, we all have, two cores, our heart and our mind. That's it. So we're thinking, we're emotions, we're rational, but we have sensitivity. So one of the things that I love about architecture, and the word says it, art, art, technique.
Right.
And it's the daily or forever tension between our hearts and our mind, right? On our emotions, and our analytical side. So when you're developing architecture, you need both. You need technique because there are numbers, there is budget, there is precision, there is engineering. It needs to be right.
Right.
Because people are going to go there, so it needs to work.
Yeah.
But there is also the art, which is the sensitivity. How do you design this? The experience we were talking about at the beginning. How do I design the experience? So that's a massive spectrum of expertise and sensitivity that needs to happen. So number one, there is place for everyone in the profession, but because it doesn't matter where you are, you can fit anywhere. So you can be a part of the process. That's one thing that I love about that. The other one is now my own approach to that setting, because that's kind of the scenario that exists. Now you come in and then I start kind of finding my way through that process. So I mentioned to you at the beginning that when I work for others, I didn't have to sell.
Right.
So because of the structure of, let's say, corporate America, professional career of an architect, you're placed into silos. You're a designer, you're a technical, you're numbers. So I was put into those places, and I was never happy because I was like, I like this box, I can do it, but there is another box there, and it's kind of nice, and there is another one, and
what if I want to do it
kind
all?
of like it,
right?
But the scenario, they said no, just do one. Don't stretch yourself too thin. So after leaving corporate America and started my own firm, now I have to do everything. I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could do it. Yes, I can, because if I'm a human being and I'm healthy and I have access to technology, I can do anything I want pretty much. It's incredible what you can do just as a basic human being that is healthy and have access to technology. You can learn anything you want. So that gives me confidence.
Yes.
Right? So now I feel more confident. Like I never thought of myself as a good salesperson or designer when I was working for others. Now I'm the opposite. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm great.
That's what I do.
Because I do my best. I'm passionate about it, and I'll present it to you. And maybe I'm wrong. Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm confident every time I'm delivering.
Right.
So I felt that I found a place that is my place within myself, which is believing in myself and understanding myself better. Like knowing what my limitations are. So maybe I don't explore that because I'm wasting time.
Right.
But there's some others that I like to do. For example, doing this podcast, right? And I do brand design work. There are things that have nothing to do with running an architecture firm or normal things.
Right.
But I make it work. I like it. I'm passionate about it. It's there. So I love exploring all these things here and there that are not the norm. Now, I understand the norm because as an immigrant, I'm taking advantage of, the structure, the system that has been created, which is incredible. And I'm just contributing to that system and then adding my own touch, which is, oh, wow, if I add value to the system, I can do whatever I want.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I think it's fun too, as you it goes back to that book by Michael Gerber, the E-Myth Revisited, where you go from the technician to the manager to the entrepreneur, right? And as a technician, to be able to come out of corporate to explore and to evaluate and to allow yourself to be creative in different ways and challenge yourself in these other boxes as you spoke. And then as you build confidence in that, then you understand those processes a little bit. Then you can elevate yourself to a manager and then to an entrepreneur because you understand. My granddad used to say in his Southern vernacular, he'd say, well, the reason, son, I'm making you dig the ditch is because one day you're going to have to ask somebody else to dig the ditch, and you'll know exactly what digging ditches is like.
That's right.
Right? And was that accent okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So it's pretty realistic, I think. Actually, it'd probably be more of a draw, like, well, son, what I was trying to tell you. But it's so true. Like if you've done the work, you understand what's involved in doing the work.
Yes.
And so then when you ask someone else to do the work, then you know what's involved.
Yeah.
You know how much time it's going to take. You understand the pain and suffering and the growth and all that's required. And then you can help put in process to improve the work.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's wonderful that as you came out of corporate America, that you turned around and said, okay, then I need to look at all these other boxes and try my skills at that, and then find what I really like to do, and then delegate the rest and move on and then grow as a business person, as an entrepreneur. Right.
Yeah.
Get into sales, get into business growth. And oh my gosh, then there's accounting and taxes and everything else, right? We got to have to learn, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that corporate America always took care of for us.
Yeah.
So fun stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Greg. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
I feel like we need to do a part 2.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's fantastic. Just bring another bottle. Christina will come.
I'm very, happy that Christina connected us, and I look forward to stay in touch, learn more about what you do. I have a lot of ideas that we can do together. So thank you so much for your time.
And I'd love to be able to tour some more of your product one day. I think that'd be fun. I love what you've done with your office, and I look forward to seeing your product out there in the market.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Power of Design podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review if you like this content. And find us online at thepowerofdesignpodcast.com. I invite you to join my mission to become a better version of yourself through the power of design.